What is going on, everybody? So, January 8th hit, we got a Riot extravaganza and a ton of news for all different Riot games, but obviously here we will focus on Legends of Runeterra. We had a lot of announcements, and there's just a ton. We got a whole roadmap for 2021. We got a new champion revealed for a new way they're going to do some expansions, and so much stuff to talk about. So I'm going to break some of those things down here, kind of run it through if you weren't able to watch it live or if you're a little confused on how things work. Hopefully this can clear it up just a little bit. And then I'll talk briefly about Aphelios and where I think he can fit in and, just breaking him down a little bit. I'm working on a full article write-up that will be on runeterraccg.com for him. So make sure to check that out for like a full reveal on him. But this will be more of a covering of the whole topic in general. So let's dive right in. Here we have the roadmap. This roadmap's pretty insane. So here we have January all the way to July. So we have more than half of 2021 fully roadmapped out for us. In January, kind of keeping it a little slow. They went on a little bit of a vacation, and that's good for them. I really hope they enjoyed their vacation and got some time to relax. This community is amazing, but they also can be very demanding. So I'm glad they had some time away. In January, we're just getting a co-op lab. So essentially you can play with one other friend versus the AI. It'll be something like a dungeon, kind of like how they had a few different things in Hearthstone. So should be pretty interesting. They revealed a little bit in the video. We're not exactly sure how it's going to work or know any full details, but it should be pretty fun. And any new way to play Legends of Runeterra is awesome. So I'm excited to definitely have some gameplay of that on the channel. And we'll be talking about it on the podcast as well. It should be really fun. February, we have a champion expansion. So they announced that they're going to be doing these new champion expansions. So instead of just doing a base set rotation where they're doing a new region every 6 months and then every 2 months they're doing a expansion to that region that's coming out, what they added is they want to even do more than that. So they're going to add these things called champion expansions, and now they might not be all of the time, but they will be consistently coming out here and there. And we have 2 teased on this roadmap, and the first is coming in February, before March hits, which is the new region. But in February, we'll get Aphelios, and we'll talk about him after this. But Aphelios is pretty sweet. They revealed his card and a spell. We don't know what else is going to come out with this. It could just literally be the champion and the spell that you can main deck, and that's also his champion spell. We're not really sure. It could be a few other cards to support him as well, but we know we're getting a champion, and it is for Targon, so Targon gets even more support. So that is pretty sweet, if you ask me. I'm pretty excited for that. Just additional cards coming out. It always is exciting. March is when things get a little bit insane. March hits. We have the next release. We have the 9th region coming to Legends of Runeterra, which will give us endless content to talk about, which I'm super excited about. But they did officially announce Shurima is coming next, and Shurima is pretty insane looking. It's all about the Egyptians. It's the sand place. It's really, really sweet stuff. And they didn't reveal anything. They revealed some artwork, but no actual cards or anything like that. With that, we'll have an expansion pass, and they're introducing this champion mastery type of deal, which essentially will be you can earn experience with certain champions when you're playing as them. And essentially you can level up those champions for maybe cosmetics or a few other things as well. They didn't go into exact details, but essentially it's another way to style on your opponents by showing off. And there'll be another social lab. So obviously every month there will be a new lab. I won't go into that too much. The co-op one was kind of interesting to me though. So, but yeah, there's a single player Legends lab, which is always fun. Always fun to do a single player lab. I'm sure it'll be revolving around either the Ruined King, which they've kind of mentioned about, or Aphelios himself. In April, there's a Legends of Runeterra anniversary celebration, so who knows what that means. That could be more big announcements as well as a social lab. So again, this is only a month after March, which will be the release of Shurima. And then in May, which is 2 months after March, we will get the mini expansion, kind of like Monuments of Power was or Cosmic Creations was for Call of the Mountain. We will get a mini expansion, which essentially should add another Shurima champion as well as a few other champions from other regions as well. And remember, this is kind of like a rising tide situation. So when a new champion comes out, or a new region comes out, they will have 1 plus the amount of champions in the game currently. So there are 6 champions for each region. Shurima will eventually get 7. Other than Targon, obviously now with Aphelios, that mixes things up. But Shurima should get 7 champions, so they will essentially get 7 eventually through these releases, and everyone else will also get a new champion as well, as how they've outlined it previously. In May, we also get a new themed event. We get champion skins, so who knows what that is. That could have something to do with how the masteries work, but there'll be a social lab as well. Then in June, we have a new expansion, Rise of the Underworlds. So who even knows what that means? For that, we have May, and then June back to back, new expansion, Rise of the Underworlds, and the one before that was Guardians of the Ancient. So they look like they're back to back almost, and it could be beginning of May, end of June type situation. We're not really exactly sure. And then in July, we have the next champion expansion. So like Aphelios is the first one. We'll have the next one, another themed event, and even more to come. So tons of content. Pretty insane stuff. Pretty insane stuff. There's a lot of content here, and this isn't even revealing all of it. This doesn't even cover the seasonal tournaments that will be happening every 2 months. Any changes to Gauntlet. There's a lot coming on this roadmap, and it's all exciting stuff for casual and competitive players alike, because this will change the scene. And I know some competitive players have been a little upset. There's not an official esports announcement, anything like that. We were told, this next seasonal tournament, there's not going to be a whole lot of changes. It's hard to implement all of them that quickly. But in April, with this Legends of Runeterra anniversary celebration, I would expect some more esports type announcements there, or even after the seasonal tournament happens in February. So expect some stuff there. For Aphelios, real quick, I want to jump in and talk about this guy here. Is pretty crazy. They have a nice little release video, and they have his champion. He is extremely convoluted and complex. He's a wall of text, and he was very confusing to read the first few times I read him. So make sure you read him a few different times. He essentially casts these different weapons, and he has Nightfall. When you play him with Nightfall, you get to pick a weapon to have in your hand. When you've played 2 other cards, essentially, so each weapon here, and this is an example of one, will phase a different weapon, and you get to pick from 2. Phase is essentially like a wish list. They kind of go into this ether area, and then when you meet a condition, in this case the condition is when you've played 2 other cards in a round, you create that phased card back into your hand if you don't already have one. So really sweet kind of combo-y action. Aphelios is a very confusing champion in League of Legends, and that rings true here as well. He's very convoluted, has a lot going on, but he's super cool. Has a lot of flexibility, and these weapons have powerful effects. Deal 3 damage to a follower is limiting because it can't hit a champion, but remember, these are all 2-cost slow spells, so they have a lot of flexible effects. This is give an ally +1/+2 and lifesteal. This is stun an enemy, and then if it's a follower, you're stunning again the next round. So there's some really good more stun support in Targon, which already has a decent amount. Infernum is give +2/+1 and overwhelm, which is cool. And then this one is probably the most abusable. It's summon a 2-cost follower in your deck. If it does have Nightfall, you activate that Nightfall. Now, there are only 2 Nightfall 2-cost followers. You have the Evershade Stalker and the Lunari Shade Stalker. But this is abusable with any 2-drop-in. Anything that has a summon effect or a tune or anything like that will trigger when you play this. So super solid card here. A lot of potential. On top of that, they revealed a 2-cost burst spell here. And this essentially is a burst spell that will create one of those weapons in your hand. And it's super powerful because you can do that at burst speed, and then you can instantly play that instead of having to play Aphelios first. Your priority gets passed, come back to you, then you can play one of your weapons that you just made. This can allow you to grab the weapon instantaneously. Also helps with playing more cards, so you could phase more efficiently, which could be important. Once Aphelios does level up, he still has, when you play 2 other cards, you get the phase, but your moon weapons cost 1 less. So all those 2-cost slow spells that have really powerful effects now will cost 1, and you can continuously try to spam those out and really start phasing a bunch of different weapons. The situation here where they compare how they design this character from League of Legends, it's so insanely accurate. He's just got 5 different weapons that he's switching between, doing all this crazy stuff. That's how it feels, right? You're going to be playing these different weapons, switching out different utility, and then maximizing those utility for different cases, different scenarios, and it's a really cool transition of a character. So I'm very excited for Aphelios. I think he's very cool, and there is a lot more to come here. We have tons of content on the way from Legends of Runeterra. I think it was a really nice announcement. There's way more than that's on that roadmap too in the announcement. We're getting a Ruined King style event. They teased that about 4 or 5 times in that video, so that's definitely coming at some point. And I just can't wait for all this content. And as always, guys, that content will be right here. So make sure you like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Leave a comment for us, and we will bring you more and more content here on the Twin Suns podcast. Until next time.